Internet, hello you lovelies, I hope you're doing very well. We got a teaser for Superman, and there are so many videos about the teaser, deservedly so, including my own. Check out this video right here. More teaser stuff to come, but I thought it'd be really fun to do a unique take on being at the teaser event. DC threw a full-on event to celebrate, to commemorate, to release the teaser for Superman, including a Q&A with the cast, and I was very fortunate to attend because of my relationship at DC Studios Showcase, and I wanted to share some of my experience with you. Now, I got to talk to Superman, to Lois, to Lex Luthor, to James Gunn. By that, I mean I got to talk to David Corenswet, Rachel Brosnahan, Nicholas Holt, but I mean it intentionally. I talked to those characters because that Q&A was them back and forth as the actor, as the character. And in conversation with them, I realized just how much these actors are those characters in so many ways. And I wanted to share the unique perspective on actually having a one-on-one conversation with them. So I've got a bunch of pictures I want to share with you. And through these pictures, I also want to discuss the conversations we had. Now, before I get into it, please hit that subscription bell. We are rapidly approaching 40,000 subscribers, and I would love to hit 40K by the end of the year. No matter what, I'd love for you to like this video. If you like this video, I'm trying something new. I think it'd be fun to kind of share anecdotes and experiences. I know not everyone lives in LA or is in this industry, so I thought sharing my take from within it would be unique instead of just reading an article or sharing sound bites like my experience with it. And most of all, let's have a conversation in the comments below. In addition to talking about the teaser, please go comment on that video. I want to talk all about the teaser. I want to talk about the actors playing these roles, and that's what this video is. So, first of all, let's talk about David Corenswet. Man, oh man, this guy is Superman. It is actually surreal how much talking with him and hearing him talk, it brings you back to when you're a kid and there are these heroes that are larger than life, in that you're so sure someone can be good and someone could be just and someone could be both Clark Kent and Superman. This dude is equal parts a larger than life, incredibly, just big, bold actor, but also a very meek, meager, lovely just dude. It felt like talking to both Clark Kent and Superman in the Q&A as well as in person. While we were talking, we talked about a couple comic book moments. We talked about a couple inspirations in the form of comic books, talked about Frank Quietly, talked about Tim Sale. But my favorite part of the conversation was he was describing that his big brother was the inspiration for a lot of his where to put himself, because his big brother is 6'8" and 280 pounds and physically is always trying to fit in. What better metaphor for an alien trying to fit in than someone that is as large as like a Tim Sale Superman drawing, physically trying to fit in. And that physicality is so clear in the brief snippets we've seen, but also in our conversation while talking, he accidentally bumped someone behind him, and I got to see an actual Clark Kent moment of him being like, oh, so sorry. And it was really wonderful because that switch and that little like was so Clark Kent at the Daily Planet. And then he got right back into our conversation. And then a favorite moment for me was this right here, where he basically went, oh, no, let's not take a photo like this. Let's do World's Finest. And the man, one, discussing World's Finest was a surreal honor, but two, getting to pose as Superman. This is my little Batman Superman moment. In this case, probably more Green Arrow Superman moment, but to World's Finest with Superman was such an honor. A lot of love for David Corenswet. Let's also talk about Rachel Brosnahan. Lois Lane herself. Had a great conversation with her about journalism. Now, journalism means a lot to me because we're living in an age where people don't often value journalism. There is so much journalism that is like, what emoji would describe this movie? And I get that you got to make your clickbait, and I get that you got to have your TikTok length stuff, but I also think the root of conversation and nuance and all of that dies when everything is 15 seconds. This video is going to be like 10 minutes, and I hope you stick around. But having long-form conversation, having long-form articles, having things that are actually read instead of just snippets, having things that you don't just scroll by, things that you invest in, dissect, and discover the nuance of. Editorial, journalism. I love that Rachel Brosnahan had conversations with journalists to find Lois Lane. As an actress, she didn't talk to other actresses. She didn't dive into just the comics. She read the comics, but she also talked to journalists to find that heart of journalism in Lois Lane. And she said some of her biggest epiphanies were in talking to journalists. Her aha moment was in talking to a journalist. I'm gonna let her have that story. It was really special that she shared it with us, especially as a journalist, but I'm sure she's gonna talk about it in press tours. But it was really cool that she found Lois Lane through that fire, that not hearing, actors hear no for a living, so do journalists. And to push past that no and to hear your way into a story and to find her way into a character in that same way of like looking left and right and navigating. And I personally, the iambic pentameter that she uses in Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, the way that Amy Sherman Palladino writes, the cadence, the pentameter is so much of how I see Lois. She is, a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. I feel that in just talking to Rachel Brosnahan and in watching Mrs. Maisel. She's already been the voice of Lois Lane to me when I read the comics. Comics are silent. There's so much the actor can put into their voice. And the voice of Rachel Brosnahan feels so much like Lois Lane to me. In addition to her looking just like her, in addition to her, just the height difference between her and David Corenswet, the energy, all of that absolutely amazing. Speaking of which, before I talk about Nicholas Hoult and James Gunn, I do want to say this photo, makes me oh so very happy. And I think we got the only group pic. I'm going to talk about this at the end. Sneak preview for 5 minutes later in the video. Now it's like a TikTok. You see what I did there? Let's talk about Nicholas Hoult. So good at being big and bold, like, your more braggadocious characters, your more authoritative characters, but I think he does also really well is more demurring. Your warm bodies, your Nux in Mad Max, which is both big and small in different ways. But I'm really excited to see him do purely audacious, big, bold role with Lex Luthor. And with the teaser, we absolutely see that come out of him. Personally, when he was going out and we heard he was up for Superman, I was excited for either role. I think now that I've seen the teaser, man, I'm excited to see his Lex Luthor. The eyes are so intense. Talking to him about what he's passionate about is so wonderful because he gets that intensity about anything. Like he's got that drive, that passion, and to see, even without dialogue, that protectiveness. Like you feel that, like, why this alien? Why are we letting this thing that isn't amongst us be here? There's that, like, that arrogant standoffishness, but also I love that during the Q&A, he said maybe there's a world where what Lex Luthor wants for humanity is better than what Superman wants. What a great way to see Lex Luthor. What a full-chested response. You've Nicholas Hoult talking about Lex Luthor from like an inside perspective of like, what if I'm right? Felt so Lex Luthor, but then to talk to Nicholas Hoult, he's like this very sweet, lovely guy. So we talked about some of the comics he read. He is a big fan of Lex Luthor, Man of Steel. We talked about Lex Luthor, the biography. Talked about some other runs. Highly recommend you check out Lex Luthor, Man of Steel, as well as Lex Luthor, the biography. And I'm so excited for his take, and he is like such a delight of a human being. Then we got the man himself, James Gunn, writer, director of Superman. James Gunn is one of my favorite writer-directors, period. I think he is one of the best people to ever adapt comic book stuff. But in addition to that, like, Scooby-Doo is amazing. People sleep on Scooby-Doo. If you watch my Real Reject stuff, you know I talk about Scooby-Doo all the time to get Greg to watch it. He's going to watch Scooby-Doo. But I think the way he sees things is how I see things in between the panels. The magic of comic books is the space between the panels for me. It's the moments you're the writer, director, and actor. It's the moment you're in between a panel and everything that happens in between those. That transition is you as the artist. That's why I think it's so hard for me to watch comic book movies completely removed from all my knowledge, is I'm playing these things in my head as if I was reading them. I'm going on that journey. The way James Gunn sees Superman is how I see Superman. The way James Gunn adapts comics, like, he made Guardians, for me, better than the comic books. I think his Guardians are much more approachable, much more entertaining in a broad sense, speaking very generally. I think his Superman, the people that don't understand what it is to be good for the sake of being good, the people that don't get kindness, not going to convince all of them, but I think a lot of people that don't get why it's incredible to be aspirational, the people that don't get why it's important to have someone to look up to. Superman shouldn't be amongst us. Superman shouldn't walk beside us. Clark Kent can and should. Superman should be something we aspire to be like that we never can. And he is trying to be like us and never can because he's better. And he doesn't think he's better. He just wants to be a person. I love that Clark Kent is something that we should all aspire to climb towards in sheer goodness and never achieve, because you shouldn't have all your goals accomplished. You should always be striving for better and better and better, and Superman represents that so much to me. This trailer felt so big and felt like so much of that energy of hope and kindness and achieving and believing in humanity. To me, watch my trailer video. Again, this is going to be where I talk about all that stuff. But talking to James Gunn, we talked about comics immediately. It was really sweet because I'm working at DC Studios Showcase as the comic correspondent. The man's seen my work, and we had a great immediate chat of like how we see comics, and it was just really special. It was an actual like comic geek out moment, and meant a lot to me. If you haven't seen DC Studio Showcase, I recommended Superman for All Seasons, as well as All-Star Superman, which is the imagery that James used to announce this Superman. We talked about those, but we also talked about Alan Moore's Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow. And that is very exciting to me because I love Alan Moore. I love this take. I love where this story goes. And to me, I felt a lot of the other comic imagery I already mentioned. The Tim Sale in For All Seasons, the incredible Frank Quitely is absolutely on display in the teaser. I felt some John Byrne. He and I also talked about some Silver Age stuff preceding John Byrne, but we both talked about John Byrne a bit. But this, the Alan Moore take, I hadn't considered. That has me so excited. I also personally, we didn't talk about it, but Ed McGuinness. I felt a lot of Ed McGuinness, who's one of my favorites in the teaser as well. But delight to talk to James Gunn about Superman. Very excited to hopefully sit down and chat with him in the future about so much more, because his Superman is giving me everything I've ever wanted to see in the character on the big screen. And to be honest, I grew up on Smallville more than I grew up in Christopher Reeve. I didn't watch the Christopher Reeve Superman until very recently, within the last 5 years. I didn't grow up on it. My parents were kids when that came out. I was -10 when that came out. I grew up on the Batman in '89 because that was my parents' generation. That said, this to me feels like, I think, how people felt with the Christopher Reeve Superman. This to me feels like the scope of the character I love from the comic books. That's my entryway point, but on the big screen, in this incredible scale, in a world where a kaiju doesn't feel out of place, in a world where everything is so big and the whole through line is betterment of humanity, in hope and kindness not being a weakness. And that has me more ecstatic than I can describe. So this trailer, this teaser, this experience, this whole thing, and being there the moment we got to see it meant so much to me. Meeting this cast, and this photo right here means a lot to me, because this is that I don't think they got together for a cast photo in front of this image, because Nicholas Hoult had to leave early, but I didn't see like a big group photo, and I really wanted to talk to everybody, as a group. And since I'm working with folks at DC Studio Showcase, I was able to be like, hey, do you want? Me and Tyler got this image of writer-director James Gunn alongside Lois Lane herself, Rachel Brosnahan, and Superman himself, Clark Kent himself, David Corenswet, and this image means so much to me to be with these folks and be there on behalf of DC Studios. It means a lot. So this image is insane. I'm probably gonna make it my profile banner image on YouTube as well as Twitter, like banner. This is so bannery. Look at this. Look at this. Very, very honored, flattered, and appreciative of this happening. And as I said when I got the job, this is thanks to you. You watching this video. I've been doing this for a decade. I've been talking about comic book stuff for a decade, and every click, every like, every share, every comment led to this, me getting to work with people that are making the movies directly. Every interview I've done is thanks to you. Interviewing is why I do all this. I love having conversations about psychology, about sociology, about what these characters are as myths, why we love these characters, about making art, all of that. That's why I love this stuff, is to have those conversations, and that's all thanks to you. And this image is thanks to you. This happening, I just want to say thank you. I'm very appreciative. DC, if you're watching this, I don't know if you are, especially 14 minutes in, thank you. Thank you for letting me talk about comics on a large platform like Max. Thank you for having me as your comic book guy and trusting me with it. Thank you for making awesome art for me to enjoy as a fan and as someone talking about it professionally. Just thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, the teaser trailer is amazing. Go check out my coverage of that. This was me trying something different as far as people were walking around with like voice recorders. I'm sure that transcribed into a lot of great articles. I wanted to bring you guys my firsthand experience. I didn't record any audio of the conversations. I didn't want to feel like I was talking to these people like Lois Lane would have to. I didn't want to be like, oh, quotes. I wanted to share moments with them, and I got to. So these are my anecdotes of those moments, mostly shared. There's some that I will always have just for me, but those were what I wanted to share with you, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I would love to make more like this. So if this does well, and if you guys like it, I'm going to try to do this as kind of like, an anecdotal event style commentary, as long as these people say it's okay to share these thoughts. This was an absolute blast. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Let me know in the comments below if any of these quotes and ideas excite you from these creators that are exactly perfectly cast. These people are these characters in so many wonderful ways. Yeah, leave a comment below, leave a like, hit that subscription bell, all the YouTube things. 7 months-ish until Superman. Look up. So excited. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.